Most people think October is the end of the gardening season. You know, that point where you just rake up the leaves, stack your pots, and say, well, that's it for the year. But here's the thing. It's not the end at all. It's actually one of the smartest months to start again. Because while everyone else is packing up their tools, the quiet, clever gardeners, the ones who seem to always have something growing, they're out here sowing the crops that love the chill. And today, I'm showing you exactly what to plant right now. 15 vegetables and herbs that don't just survive late October, they thrive in it. Oh, and stick around till the end because there's one herb on this list that practically grows itself all winter long. Most gardeners don't even realize how powerful it is, but you will. Hey friends, welcome back to Serene Green Gardens. It's always good having you here. If you're new to the channel, well, first off, you're in for a treat. Around here, we keep gardening simple, affordable, and honestly, peaceful. No expensive gadgets, no overcomplicated setups, just real, down-to-earth gardening that actually works. So if that sounds like your kind of space, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our weekly tips. We've got plenty more ways to keep your garden thriving without breaking the bank. Here's the thing about late October. It's not the end of the gardening season. It's more like a reset. The soil still holds a bit of that summer warmth, the air's cool and calm, and most of the bugs that drove you crazy all summer, they finally packed up and left. This is the perfect window when cool weather crops quietly take over. The hardy greens, the herbs that don't mind a chill, the roots that grow slow but steady. The trick is just knowing what to sow right now so your garden doesn't just sit empty all winter long. You want it alive, feeding your soil, building strength, and then bursting into life once spring rolls back around. And don't worry, you don't need a fancy greenhouse or expensive setup, no complicated gear, no big budget. Just a few seeds, some containers, and a bit of patience. That's really all it takes. All right, let's kick things off with one of the easiest and most rewarding crops you can plant right now, spinach. I always say spinach is that friend who shows up no matter the weather. It doesn't care if the mornings are cold or if the sun's getting shy, it just keeps growing. In fact, here's the secret most folks don't realize. Spinach actually tastes better after it's been kissed by a little frost. That chill in the air brings out this natural sweetness that you just don't get in summer. And the best part? It's fast. You can sow it in containers, raised beds, or even old buckets you've got lying around. Within a few weeks, you'll have baby leaves ready for picking, fresh, crisp, and nutrient-packed. So, if you're looking for a low-effort win to keep your garden feeling alive this late in the season, start with spinach. It's one of those crops that quietly rewards you while everyone else thinks gardening's over. Next up, lettuce mixes. Now, this one's a quiet overachiever. You toss a handful of seeds into a pot or a small raised bed, give it a little love, and within weeks, you've got this lush carpet of greens that just keeps giving. What I love about mixed lettuces is how forgiving they are. You don't have to wait for a perfect head to form. Just snip what you need and the rest keeps growing back. That's the magic of the cut and come again style. It's perfect if you're short on space or don't want to fuss over schedules. You can grow them right outside your kitchen door or even on a sunny balcony. And when that first chill hits, lettuce doesn't sulk. It actually thrives. The cooler air keeps the leaves tender and mild, not bitter like in summer. So, if you want something fresh, simple, and steady through the cold weeks ahead, sow a mix of lettuces. It's like having your own mini salad bar on standby. All right, let's talk about kale. This plant's the definition of tough love. You can ignore it for days, hit it with cold nights, even a bit of frost, and it just shrugs it off like, that's all you got? Kale actually enjoys the cold. The cooler it gets, the sweeter and crisper the leaves become. And it's one of those crops that keeps giving. Harvest a few leaves from the outside, and new ones will quietly push through the middle. You can be cutting kale for months without ever replanting. And it doesn't need much space either. A deep pot, a corner of your bed, a little patch near the back fence, it'll settle in anywhere as long as it gets a bit of sun. So, if you want a vegetable that asks for very little but gives a whole lot back, plant kale. It's sturdy, beautiful, and just plain reliable. Kind of like that one friend who always shows up when you need them. And if you're working with limited space, maybe just a few containers or a small raised bed, chard is perfect. It doesn't take over, but it makes its presence known. It thrives in cooler weather, bounces back after frost, and honestly, it's one of those plants that makes you feel like you've got your gardening life together. So if you want color, nutrition, and something that just quietly does its job, plant Swiss chard. It's beauty and practicality in one. If these easy fall crops are speaking your language, don't forget to hit subscribe. We've got more senior-friendly, low-cost gardening tips coming your way every week. Let's talk about the real October classic, garlic. If there's one crop that deserves a spot in every fall garden, this is it. Garlic is that quiet worker you plant and then almost forget about, until one warm summer morning when you pull up those big, beautiful bulbs and feel like an absolute gardening genius. The timing couldn't be better either. October is prime garlic season. The soil's cool but not frozen, the moisture's just right, and the clubs settle in nicely for their long winter sleep. Here's how simple it is. Take a healthy bulb, split it into clubs, plant each one pointy side up about 2 inches deep, and then cover it. That's it. No greenhouse, no special care, just patience. Over the next few months, those cloves will quietly form roots and start building strength underground. By summer, you'll be harvesting your own homegrown garlic, rich, flavorful, and nothing like the store-bought kind. Honestly, once you grow it yourself, you'll never go back. All right, next up, onions. But not just any onions. I'm talking about the multiplier types, or my personal favorite, the Egyptian walking onions. These ones are a bit special. Once you plant them, they pretty much take care of themselves. Seriously, you plant them once and they'll keep coming back year after year like dependable old friends. The multiplier onions form clusters underground. You harvest a few, leave a few, and they just keep multiplying. The Egyptian walking ones? They're even wilder. They grow little bulbs at the top of their stalks, and when those get heavy, they bend down, touch the soil, and replant themselves, hence the name. They literally walk across your garden. It's one of those crops that makes you smile because it feels like nature's doing all the work for you. Plant them this fall, and by next season, you'll have a patch that feeds you again and again without much effort. It's like a self-sustaining onion patch, the gift that keeps on giving. Now, if you're the kind of gardener who loves quick results, this one's for you. Radishes. Radish is that crop that rewards impatience. You plant it, blink twice, and it's ready. Well, almost. Most varieties are harvest ready in under a month. That's faster than most people decide what to cook for dinner. And they're perfect for this time of year because they love cool weather. The roots stay crisp, the flavor gets milder, and the colors, those deep reds and pinks, pop beautifully against the fall soil. They don't ask for much either. A bit of loose soil, steady moisture, and they're off to the races. You can even tuck them in between slower growing crops to make the most of your space. And honestly, there's something deeply satisfying about pulling up those bright little roots just weeks after planting. It's like your garden's way of saying, see, you don't always have to wait forever for good things. Now let's talk about carrots, the quiet achievers of the fall garden. Here's the deal. Carrots don't like to be rushed. You just give them what they need, deep, loose soil, a little moisture, and they'll handle the rest in silence. If you sow them now and keep the soil damp, you'll have crisp, sweet roots waiting for you by winter. But let's be honest, carrots have this calming effect. You ever notice how they make you feel like you actually know what you're doing? They just sit there underground, doing their thing. No drama, no fuss, no complaints. Every time I pull one up, I get this little moment of satisfaction, like, yeah, I grew that. We need more crops like carrots, the kind that teach you patience while rewarding you quietly. All right, moving into the herb zone, let's start with cilantro. This one's a cool weather lover through and through. If you've ever tried growing it in summer, you know the struggle. It shoots up, flowers too fast, and suddenly it's all gone. But in fall, whole different story. Cilantro actually thrives when the air cools down. It grows slower, steadier, and the flavor turns richer, that bright, citrusy freshness that makes everything taste better.
Sow it directly in the soil or a wide container, keep it slightly moist, and it'll reward you for weeks. You can harvest the leaves as they come in, or let a few plants go a little longer for coriander seeds later on. And the best part? No constant babysitting, no bolting in a week. Just calm, happy cilantro doing its thing while the rest of the garden winds down. It's one of those herbs that quietly proves fall gardening is seriously underrated.
Next up is parsley, the little green powerhouse that just doesn't know when to quit. Once it gets going, it keeps producing for months. Seriously, it's like the Energizer Bunny of herbs. You plant it once in the fall, give it a bit of water and light, and that's it. It'll keep sending out fresh leaves through winter and right into spring. And the flavor? Deep, clean, and slightly sweet. Perfect for soups, stews, or just tossing on top of whatever you're cooking. Parsley's one of those herbs that quietly proves consistency beats flash. It doesn't scream for attention like basil or mint, but it's always there when you need it. And because it handles cool weather like a champ, you can count on it long after most herbs have called it quits. If you want something low maintenance and endlessly useful, plant parsley. Once it starts, it really doesn't stop, and you'll be glad it doesn't. Now, let's talk about chives. Honestly, these might be one of the most underrated herbs you can grow. They're tough, almost indestructible, really. Once they settle in, they'll keep coming back year after year like clockwork. What I love about chives is how easy they are to fit into any space. You don't need a big garden bed. A simple pot on a sunny windowsill is more than enough. They grow in neat little clumps, and before you know it, those slender green shoots are ready to snipping. The flavor is gentle, kind of like onion, but softer, friendlier. Perfect for sprinkling over eggs, soups, or roasted vegetables. And when spring rolls around, they surprise you with those beautiful purple flowers that bees absolutely adore. So, if you've ever wanted an herb that practically takes care of itself, something you can grow indoors or out without much thought, chives are your best bet. Once they're in your garden or on your windowsill, they're there to stay. All right, let's give some respect to thyme. This little herb doesn't ask for much, but it gives your garden and your kitchen so much back. It grows low and tidy, like it knows how to mind its space. The scent alone could lift your mood. Earthy, warm, a little woodsy. It's the kind of smell that makes you stop for a second and breathe a little deeper. And here's the thing. Thyme doesn't care about frost. While other herbs are curling up and quitting, thyme just stays put, quietly toughing it out. It's one of those plants that reminds you nature can be both delicate and determined at the same time. I'll tell you a quick story. One winter, I completely forgot a pot of thyme on the patio. Snow, frost, wind, I thought for sure it was gone. Come spring, I looked down, and there it was, bright green, stronger than before, like it had something to prove. So yeah, thyme's a survivor. If you want an herb that looks elegant, smells divine, and laughs in the face of cold weather, this is the one to plant. Now, let's talk about mustard greens. These are the bold ones in the bunch. Spicy, fast-growing, and surprisingly tough. They don't just survive in cool weather, they thrive in it. When you first bite into a fresh mustard leaf, it's got this peppery kick that wakes you up a little. Kind of like nature's way of saying, hey, I'm still here. And the best part? They grow ridiculously fast. You can sow them now and be harvesting tender baby leaves in just a few weeks. And they're also one of the few leafy greens that pests don't seem to love. The strong flavor keeps most of the usual troublemakers away, which means less worry and more reward for you. And they're versatile. Throw them in a stir-fry, mix them into salads, or sauté them with garlic for a bit of heat. If you're looking for something different this fall, something with personality and resilience, mustard greens are it. They're like the rebel of the garden, quick, fiery, and completely unstoppable. Next on the list, mosh, also known as corn salad.
Now this one's a bit of a hidden gem. Not many gardeners talk about it, but once you grow it, you'll wonder why you waited so long. Mosh has these soft, tender, almost buttery leaves, the kind that make every salad feel a little fancy without you trying hard to it. And the best part? It loves the cold. In fact, it prefers it. While most greens shiver and fade when temperatures drop, mosh stays perfectly content growing slowly and steadily through the chilly months. You can sow it directly in the soil or in shallow trays if you're short on space. It doesn't need much, just a bit of moisture and light, and once it starts coming up, those little rosettes of green look almost too pretty to pick. It's delicate, yes, but also quietly strong, a reminder that not everything soft is fragile. So, if you want a cool season green that's beautiful, delicious, and low maintenance, give mosh a try. It's like discovering a secret that only the most patient gardeners know. And finally, let's wrap this section up with broad beans, also known as fava beans. These ones are a bit of a two-for-one deal. They feed you and your soil at the same time. When you plant broad beans in late October, you're not just growing a crop. You're building healthier soil for everything that comes after. Their roots pull nitrogen from the air and store it right in the ground, kind of like a natural fertilizer that keeps working long after you've harvested the pods.
And the beans themselves? They're rich, hearty, and full of that earthy flavor that feels like comfort food on a cold day. You can eat them young and tender, or let them mature for drying and storing. Either way, they're generous plants. They give more than they take. Plus, they handle cold weather better than most people think. A light frost doesn't bother them. They just keep growing slowly, quietly, until spring rolls around and they burst into bloom. So if you want a crop that pays you back twice, once in flavor and again in soil health, plant broad beans. They're the unsung heroes of the fall garden. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this and want more easy gardening wins, hit that subscribe button now. We post new videos every day of week. It's free and it really helps the channel grow. All right, let's wrap up with how to make sure these crops actually thrive through the colder weeks ahead. All right, before we wrap things up, let's talk about a few quick tips to help these crops thrive through the colder weeks ahead. First, those frosty nights, they can sneak up on you fast. So keep a few lightweight covers or row fabrics handy. You don't need anything fancy. Even an old bed sheet or thin cloth will do the trick. Just lay it gently over your plants in the evening and pull it off in the morning once the sun's up. That simple habit can make the difference between wilted leaves and a thriving winter garden. Next, water early in the day. It's a small thing, but it matters. When you water in the morning, the roots soak up what they need before the temperature drops. Wet soil stays warmer overnight, helping protect those tender roots from freezing. And if you live in a windy area or just want to make life easier, use containers. They warm up faster than garden beds, and you can move them around to catch the best light or tuck them into sheltered spots when the wind picks up. Plus, containers make everything feel more manageable, less bending, less hassle, same great harvest. Simple steps, right? But they'll keep your garden strong through winter and ready to explode with life once spring comes back around. You know, it's funny. Every season in the garden has its own rhythm. Spring is loud and busy. Summer's all about abundance. But October teaches patience. It's that quiet moment where you slow down a bit, trust the soil, and just wait. You sow your seeds now, not for instant reward, but for what's coming next. And somehow that makes it more meaningful. There's something peaceful about knowing the work you're doing today, in this cool, calm season, will show its rewards months down the line. So don't pack away your tools just yet. There's still life happening out there. Roots growing, soil breathing, tiny green shoots pushing up in their own time. Your garden's still got stories to tell, even when the world around it starts to go quiet. And maybe that's the real magic of gardening. It reminds us that even in the slow seasons, something beautiful is still growing. All right, now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what's the one crop you never skip planting in fall? Everyone's got that go-to favorite, and I love seeing what's growing in your gardens. You all always drop the best ideas down there.
And hey, if you picked up even one helpful tip from this video, do me a favor and give it a quick thumbs up. It might seem small, but it really helps more gardeners, people just like you, find serene green gardens and keep this community growing. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe before you go. We've got plenty more easy, affordable gardening tips coming your way. In fact, next time we're talking about how to keep your soil alive all winter without spending a dime. You don't want to miss that one. All right, friends, take care of yourselves, take care of your gardens, and I'll see you in the next video.